I have a lot of brushes on the floor, a lot of brushes. And I have this tiny cabinet. This is a yard sale find. I actually purchased this from a yard sale down the street quite a while back. And it's been sitting in my workspace in the shed for a while, just hanging out. So I thought now is the time to bring it in and start to paint. And we can play with some Terra Clay Paint. So do you want to learn all about Terra Clay Paint and what it can do for you? Because it's my favorite. It is totally my jam. If I had to pick out of all the paints that I use from the 3 lines at Dixie Belle Paint, it has to be Terra Clay Paint. It's just so much fun. So let's talk about it. What is Terra Clay Paint? Terra Clay Paint is available in 18 vibrant colors. It is made from literal clay. There's clay inside this paint. So it is nice and thick and chunky. When you paint with this paint, you can get texture, you can get boho vibes, you can get like runs and drips. This paint for me is famous for its apothecary vibes. I use the lighter color tones along with black onyx to create like this old world rusty crusty finish that is just delicious. And then I'm into the blues as well, which is what we're going to do today, because I like to combine all of the blue colors with the patina paint, which is literal rust and crust, and make things look like somebody dragged it out of the ocean. Like the more textured and old looking and interesting, the better. It's totally my jam. So there's 18 colors and I have 5 on the floor today. And as I use each color, I'm going to tell you what color it is. They have 2 sizes available in this paint. You're able to get it in the 16 ounce, which I have here in my hands today. You can see it in these containers. They look a little bit different than the regular container that you might be used to. They have more of a pop top versus a screw top. And when you look inside, it does look a little bit different. Since this is clay paint, it kind of gets a little bit more chunky on the sides, and you're able to actually make this come back to life with a little bit of water. So I don't mind if my paint cans get a little crusty in there because it's crusty goodness. So you have this size, which is your 16 ounce, and you also have a little tiny baby size, which is 4 ounce. And to be honest, you don't use a ton of this paint. It's highly, highly pigmented. And I'm going to show you how it works today. So let me open one more can with my little screwdriver because it looks like I missed one. And you have to use like a sharp tool to get up and under the lip of the can to get it open. And I thought I did them all and I missed one. 9 times out of 10, my lids are never on. So it's surprising to me that I've got a couple of new cans here on the floor today ready to be opened up and played with. All right, we are good. So once you kind of get your screwdriver or your tool up under, you're able to pop those little lids off, and then you can hammer them back down. So it keeps them really, really good. But you can see the colors I've got here today. This is blue agave. It is gorgeous, super pretty. We are gonna go Moroccan vibes on this piece. So for today's paint project, it might be a 2-part series. Don't worry, I will have the whole entire thing up on YouTube so you can follow along and learn exactly how to do what we're gonna do today. Today's step will be step number 2 because I've already cleaned this project with White Lightning. This is my cleaner and my degreaser. And then I have prepped it with Bonding Boss because this project is actually plastic. It's not wood, it's plastic. Let me show you the hardware. Let's see if I can open this up. I don't really have the proper, this is not going to work. I don't have the proper screwdriver in here. Let's see if I can find something to shove in here and open up the door. Okay, so inside I put the hardware. Let me show you the hardware because this is kind of like the theme of the piece. You've got 2 parts, the back plate and the front, and it is very Moroccan style. I love the gold, I love the shape. The bottom of the table actually mimics this shape as well. That tells me this needs to be super drippy, super boho. Let's get into it. All right, so first things first, what brushes do I like to use when I play with Terra Clay Paint? Well, if you ask me, Terra Clay Paint plays very, very well with anything natural fiber. I just happen to love a French tip. This is the French tip brush. It is all natural fiber. You can see that my Terra Clay Paint has like stained the tips and the edges of this paint. Don't worry, a little bit of staining never hurt anybody. It just shows that it's well loved. It's totally fine. And I even have one of my little just regular chip brushes. If all else fails, Terra Clay Paint loves a chip brush. Let's get into it. All right, so I think my plan for this will be to have a obviously blue, it's gonna be blue. You can see the bottom of this cabinet, how cute that is. But I always like to go a little bit dark first and then build up those layers. Terra is amazing for building of layers. So let's start with Onyx, which is like the black. And I'm gonna come up here and show you real close what this looks like. When I say clay paint, chunky and funky, I feel like I can almost do like the blizzard trick, which I'm not gonna do because I might actually spill it, where you can like flip it upside down and it doesn't spill out. I'm not gonna do it because it could be a disaster and I then would have to sit in this paint. I like to do like a darker vibe first, and yes, I'm painting over the hinges. What are you gonna do about it? Nothing. I like to paint over my hinges. So let's take this Onyx and kind of drip it and get it into all of the crevices. I'm gonna go into anywhere that's like a recessed area, and even on this little door. We're gonna get in here with the black, and I'm gonna get it all up in these areas. Terra's not a paint where you're like smoothly, precisely painting. It doesn't work like that. This paint likes to be played with. This is an artisan paint. I want you to have some fun and get crafty with it. It works the best when you build up these textures. There becomes little peaks and valleys in here with your paint. So all the little peaks and valleys that you're creating in the recessed areas, if you were to apply another color over top, what's gonna happen is you can actually sand it back or wet distress it back to show the darkness underneath. So I like to get my darkness into all the crevices. Another option would be to base coat this in completely black. If you were to base coat this in like either Onyx, which is here, which is a nice black, or Caviar, or even silk paint, because you're just creating a base dark color for your other colors to show through. So this black Onyx is sitting in the recessed areas and it's sitting around the edges. What I want to do now is start to build up with a lighter color. I'm gonna put this brush down. I'm gonna switch it out. We're gonna move into a couple of the different blues. I have two blues here on the floor. This is Galaxy and this is Blue Moon. Both are like really deep and delicious colors. I'm gonna show you. So first off is Galaxy. It's really not that far off from black. You can see here how it's not a terribly different color, but it is blue. And again, what I'm doing is building up that texture by dabbing on my paint. Just by dabbing it on like this, I'm able to cover the areas with little peaks and valleys so that when I do come in here and paint over top of it with another color, you're gonna see that color peeking through. I'm going to keep the same brush and I'm going to show you what Blue Moon looks like. Can you see the difference? How this is a green blue and this is a blue blue? They're not that far off, to be honest with you. They're pretty darn close when it comes to the actual color, but it is enough of a variation when it's dry. Let me show you what it looks like when it's dry. So clay paint gets very light. It's a lighter color when it's dry versus when it's wet. I'm gonna hit it with my heat gun. And you're gonna see the color start to change. When it dries, it's a lot lighter in value than when it's wet. And if you're gonna come in here with multiple colors and you don't wanna muddy them up, I would suggest waiting in between layers. But we're gonna work on a time schedule here and really try and get at least these two panels done so that you can see exactly how Terra Clay Paint works and how easy it is, how simple it is. It's not hard to paint with this paint. Like, you can do an entire piece by just dabbing on your color. You don't have to be precise. You don't have to be like super duper careful, if that makes sense. It looks better and works better when you're more free. So let's move into the Blue Agave. Am I saying that correctly? Blue Agave, Blue Agave. Could be one, could be the other. Let's also just drip this on. We're just gonna dab this color until we cover this area, because this is just the first coat. This first coat is what's gonna live underneath, because we're going to be adding other colors on top in the same manner, but blended together. We're basically just getting in here and covering all of this bonding boss in white. And ignore if you hear noise outside. We have yard men outside putting mulch in the gardens, which is gonna just add a lot more fun to my pollen issue. I swear, I got in my car yesterday. You have to turn on your wipers to get rid of the pollen. It's crazy, but it's lovely. I'll take it any day because I'm not a winter kind of a girl. I am a give me summer, give me warm weather all day long over winter. Okay, so tapping this color on. Let's just get this white covered so that we can have a base to start working on our layering. I also have that pistachio, which is that really pretty green down here on the floor. And I'll be using that as an accent with a spatula. We're gonna do a little bit of spatula painting today as well. But let's just get this white covered and hit it with the heat gun long enough so that I can show you how to build up these layers to make something fabulous. Because right now I know you're looking at what I'm doing and you're thinking, she's lost her mind. Maybe when she was coughing and hacking, her brains have left. But no, they're still here. This is just a base, don't worry. There's always a method behind the madness. Just trust me, trust the process. Okay, now that we have layered and covered the white, we're gonna now hit it with the heat gun. So bear with me for the noise. Talk amongst yourselves. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in. You're gonna see how light this gets as it starts to dry. Normally when you're painting with Terra Clay Paint, you would wait long enough to have each layer dry thoroughly before you move to the next. But like I said, we're on a time limit here, so we're gonna speed up the process. Look how much lighter this dries than over here where it's still wet. Okay, so let's concentrate on this panel while this panel gets a little bit dry. I'm gonna go back to my original brushes, but I'm not gonna go back to the black, okay? I'm gonna go back into the blues. We're gonna go between Blue Moon and Galaxy, and we're gonna start to just dab on our second layer of color. Okay, between Blue Moon and Galaxy, I'm gonna keep these two brushes. I'm actually more of a fan of the Galaxy than the Blue Moon. I prefer the greenish tone that I'm seeing versus like the real kind of in the navy blue, if that makes sense. So now we're gonna start to, now that we've deposited our color, we're gonna start to use a little bit of water and we're gonna start to switch up our paint. So going back to that other brush that had the blue agave on it, I know it's a little dirty, it's a little muddy, but we're just going to start to pull these two colors together. And you can do that very simply by tapping them. If you feel like it's dry and you need to add a little bit more, you can come in and actually add water to this as well. But we're gonna start to create some texture vibes. When this second coat gets dry, what's gonna happen is you're gonna be able to manipulate the paint that has dried and create a look where that texture underneath will peek through when you rub it with water or you rub it with sandpaper. So the blue agave, or blue agave, whatever you want to say, I really think it's agave, but I'm probably wrong. My Canadian roots tend to mix up the words, not gonna lie, not gonna lie. Okay, so I'm loving this little blend over here. Let's see what it looks like if we add in some of that pistachio. Now, remember pistachio, that is some bold green right there. That is some seriously bold green. Let's see what happens if we mix in some of this green. Not all over. I just want to see what it looks like if I mix it with the blue agave. I think I'll like it, to be honest with you, because it's just going to give it a little bit more dimension. Look at that. Look at that color. It's so blendable. This paint, I'm not kidding. When we talk about blending and simple blending, This is where Terra Clay Paint shines. You can't do this technique with other paint and get this really pretty, flawless look. This paint makes it so simple. I almost want to do the rest of it like from like the blue to the green. I'm changing my mind from going dark to thinking I should just add more and more green. Are we loving that green coming down? Do you want to come in a little bit closer to see? Okay, let's add more of the pistachio. And let's kind of disperse that line a little bit with some gentle blending, some gentle tapping. Then what's going to happen is when you get that second coat dry, you're able to really come in and start to spray and allow the magic to start to happen. I love to drip my Terra Clay paint. This is looking super cute. This is almost looking like a little bit like a nighttime vibe, like a little bit of a dawn to dusk kind of a vibe. Let's add even more green down here. This little cabinet was also very cheap. It was not expensive. So whenever I get a little cabinet like this, that was really just a couple bucks. It really wasn't that much money at all. I feel the need to get a little bit bold, get a little bit daring with my color choice, because if it wasn't that much money to begin with, then play with it. Have some fun with it. If you decide that you don't like what you've done, there's nothing stopping you from starting over. Like you're not locked in to anything. But to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I told you before that when I paint in this vibe, in this color with Terra Clay Paint, everything with Terra Clay Paint flies out the door. People really, really like this textured feel on furniture. And since it's available in those little 4-ounce size containers, you're able to really do a lot with this paint without having to buy like a huge 16 ounce. You could try this and experiment with a smaller size container and still get this same look. I mean, you've seen me dip it into the pistachio maybe like 2 times. You can really get away with not using a ton of paint. I like that. Let me dry it with my heat gun, because like I said, when this gets dry, it actually changes in color. It's a little bit different looking. I also really love metallics, and I like to layer. So most likely I will layer stencils over top of this as well. Can you see how light that turns? See where it's getting dry? When you seal it, it's going to come back to being that nice, deep, dark, rich color. You know what this reminds me of is a lantern. It reminds me of like, if we put like little stars in here, it's like a night sky lantern. That would be super cute actually. I love that vibe. I'm loving how this is turning out. Look how light that clay paint gets. Look at that. Oh my gosh, you guys, how pretty is that? That is so pretty. Oh my goodness, I absolutely love that. Okay, let's go back to the panel. Now the panel is going to be a bit different because you've got these little squares. You're not as easily able to dab. Let's go back into the blue. It's not Blue Moon. What is it? What is it? It's called Galaxy. I always forget. There's actually another one too that has more of a green tone as well, and I tend to mix them up quite a bit. Let's just kind of make sure we get all of our edges with the Galaxy, especially at the top since I'm going to be bringing it down. And then we're going to dip into the blue Agave and see what kind of look we can get. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the other brush. This is pretty. Actually, that was the blue Agave brush. Let's switch entirely. I've still got another one on the floor. Let's go into another one and grab that blue. Okay, so here's what you can do. Spray your brush with water. I like to spray my brush rather than the piece. And let's start to blend these colors together. Like I said, it's a little bit more tricky in the areas with the recessed panels, but totally not impossible and still super simple. Okay, liking that. I actually want to add a little bit of green up here, I think, already into those panels. Not a ton, just a little. Let's dry this one and build up that layer. Doesn't this remind you of a lantern for some reason? The size of this table along with this color combination is making me feel like this is a little lantern. And it's giving me total Moroccan vibes. I'm totally hitting the look on the head with what I was wanting to do. Wanting to give it a little bit of color. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm gonna keep going with the blue agave down into the middle, making sure to cover all of those little white bits of bonding boss that you might still see. And then we're going to mix in the pistachio with that tone. And together it's going to give me the same vibes as here, but again, just a little bit different since it's on the front with the carvings. And I'm still just patting my paint on. I'm not doing anything other than patting it. It's very simple to pat on your color versus paint on your color. This is not hard work, just getting the little edge here. Let's go back in here and get that edge. I can totally hear the yard workers outside. What a noisy day. What a noisy, noisy day. I'm gonna go back into the dark so that I don't get too much of that light tone on the edges. Really get up in here in that crack. And I kind of want to paint with the door out anyways. I don't want it to shut and then block off the edge. I would kind of lose that little bit of direction that would hide it, because if the door shuts, you lose part of that panel. Again, just tapping on the color, getting that blue to mix in, and then coming back in with the green. You kind of have to work in sections so that you can still blend when it's wet. Now, before you seal this paint, you're gonna find that it is movable. And by movable, I mean if you were to come in here with a wet towel right now and start to rub, it's gonna come off. Until you seal it, it's not locked in. You have to lock this paint in. So you're gonna want to seal it with either Terra Tough, which is a little bit of a shine on it, more similar to gator hide. And then you're gonna also have one called Terra Seal, which is like more of a matte finish. And the matte finish is going to allow you to really reactivate this color and keep it looking like clay paint. I find that I like clay paint better when it's in a duller finish. I don't like too much of a shine when it comes to my paint on Terra. I like to really lock it in and keep it looking muted and natural. I don't want it to be too shiny. Now remember, the actual hardware is going to go from about here to here. I might even add patina paint on this piece. I'm a big fan of all of these blues mixed in with patina. I really like the way patina paint plays with Terra. I think that the combination of Terra Clay Paint and patina paint is like, it's perfection. It really is. It's such a good mix. You can really get away with creating a lot of mermaid vibes, like total mermaid vibes when it comes to Terra Clay Paint and patina. They go together like peanut butter and jelly. Okay, cute, 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 cute. Let's add a little bit of green down here in the pistachio. I think I inhaled some pollen, to be honest with you. It is not funny in Richmond, Virginia when those trees start to drop all of their pollen. You can also use waxes on top of this, just so you know, if you wanted to come in here with any of the gilding waxes or black wax or brown wax, whatever you're feeling like you would like to do, you're able to add that on top when this gets dry, just like any other any other project. I need to dry this spot because I'm pulling it off. What are we thinking about this vibe? Is this too out there for you? Are you loving this? Are you feeling comfortable with this? I always like to hear what people have to say about Terra Clay Paint. I think until you get your hot little hands on it and you actually try it, you're always going to be a little bit nervous. I recommend really going in and trying those 4-ounce sizes, because I think that you're going to see how easy it is to blend, how easy it is to create these looks with just a little bit of paint and a little bit of tapping. You're going to get some really cool designs. That green that you're seeing is the pistachio. The light blue is the agave. And then of course I have the darker blues, and I did start off with more black. So you're going to see some of that black pour through. Let's dry some of this. The color is going to change crazy, like immensely when it's dry. It will come back a little bit when you seal it. I can't miss those little edges. There's like some tiny little edges that are just showing a little bit of white from my bonding boss. I really don't want to see white. Okay, so now I'm going to take my spatula. I like to take a plastic spatula and take some of that green. I usually take it off the lid. So let's see. This lid is a little bit dried out, so let's put some of this green pistachio just here so I can grab it. And then there's a sticker on here. We don't want that. So we're going to grab the green and I'm going to come over top of these raised edges, okay? We're going to simply take some of this pistachio and drag it down from the top. We're gonna add a little bit of age with some spatula painting. You can also do this with opposite colors. Say you were painting an orange and you wanted to add blue. That would be really cool. I have done entire pieces of spatula painting. I really enjoy it. I think that it's a lot of fun and it's a great way to get a really kind of patina vibe on a piece. So all I'm doing is just gently taking that paint and gently dragging it down to create a little bit more texture. And remember, when this gets dry, I'm going to be able to come in here and actually pull back some of those edges to show the black onyx that is underneath.